This video is sponsored by my OnlyFans, where I do my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition, relationship advice, and more. And guys, okay, hi to you, and welcome to the Empress Show. With me is Chicago Reacts. He is joining me on this 40k talk about, well, 40k and female space marines in particular. So, hi to you.
Hello. It is really nice to be on your show. I've followed some of your work. You talk a lot about Warhammer 40k. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm really excited to get this conversation going in regards towards, well, really what lies in the future for Games Workshop and
Oh yeah.
all this talk about women space marines and so much more because it's an interesting double-edged sword in regards to it. But obviously you did a video about it, I believe, a month and a
Yeah.
half ago, and maybe I think it's important for all of us to get a refresher of your original thoughts before I guess I input my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. Well, last year as well, I think I did a video about that because it was once again in the news. It was relevant once again. And this was actually the first time that I talked about this. That there was something about Major Kill, and he did a topic about that, and he explained that really physically is not really logical. So I
Mhm.
think that was mostly the focus and the points of view from which he looked at this. And then, I talked about basically my position, which is if it makes sense, if it's not shoved in, maybe it's gonna be okay. But if it is shoved in, it doesn't make sense. Why do it? If you do something for the sake of doing it without justifying it, justifying the existence of that thing, then it's just like where it's forced. And when it's forced, why would we need it? It doesn't actually have value when it's forced. So that was my original position. And then we had these things with, what happened with the Templin Institute. And that was a bit of a even more ridiculous. That was really ridiculous. I agree with Major Kill, what he said back then. But he was coming from some kind of a strange place of social justice or something, which
Mhm.
there is no such thing in 40k, okay? 40k is still pure. Doesn't need that stuff. So yeah,
So
that was ridiculous.
here's my thoughts on, I guess, once again, this whole idea that Warhammer 40k needs to have this injection of modern day politics into a clearly a dystopian universe. I mean, at one point, humanity was at the golden age of technology or dark age of technology, where we were like, I guess, dare I say it, maybe a federation like empire, but those days are gone. What once made humanity stand out, we no longer have access to, and humanity is now in a far grim, dark situation. And so, when I saw the video by the Templeton Institute, it felt as many ways as, well, this is what should be interjected. I think it's long overdue. At least that's what the narrator was trying to explain. To which I have to say, who exactly is your intended audience? Because if you're giving a middle finger to the fans, let's say Game Workshop does this and say, hey, you're going to do this, who are you selling the miniatures to? Because again, Games Workshop, they make 3D, they make, plastic miniatures that people like to create their own factions, which again, if someone wants to create their own female space marines, they could do that on their own. But who's going to buy said product? Who are these characters? Who are these stories? And how are you going to break canon? Now, Luton, 40k theories, Major Kill, everybody. Apologies if I'm missing anyone. Wolf Lord Row,
Yeah.
etc. Have all done many videos on how Warhammer 40k isn't has a straight timeline. Like when you look at a story, you're seeing it from a perspective of a said character. And so that's why there's many different points of view of how the emperor is perceived. Either honorable and a good person, or a horrible, tyrannic, fascist dictator. When it comes down to female space marines, I mean, Malkador, suggested that the Primarchs, like some of them, should be women, to which the emperor dismissed. And then Fabius Bile from the book, and this is an excerpt from um, primogenitor, where the final paragraph, and so we will. This is a quote from him. We are safe aboard the Versailles. Bile said, rubbing a spot of blood from Igor's cheek with his thumb. More than once, I have questioned the Emperor's wisdom in bestowing his gifts upon one half of the human race. For in man, as in all beasts, the female is the deadlier of the species. You are a thing of furious beauty, my dear. Never let anyone tell you different. So there has been talk by characters of, well, why isn't there a woman space marine or a female space marine? But also in Primogenitor, I don't want to say it was a female space marine, but there was a woman in his warband. I guess through genetic manipulation, could have been a quasi Astartes like human, but she was genetically mutated. I wouldn't say she had the makings of an Astartes because the emperor bestowed that gift for his, I guess, human males to have these genetic implants, these organs put into them, so that they could be his eventual super soldiers. Which, at least according to how the emperor was designing it, and also with the help of other genetic scientists on Terra, this is our mindset. This is our template of what we're going to use for our super soldiers, and it was only for one half of the human species. At least that's my initial thoughts on it. So it's like, who are you selling it to, and then the lore also backs it up too.
Yeah, I think that comment basically, part of the lore was put there to calm some minds down, you know?
Hmm.
But in actuality, at least when I put those last two videos, somebody made such a comment, like a book, a book-sized comment
Oh
about
no, one of
how,
those.
yeah, it was about how before there were some female space marines, but then some other stuff happened, and that was because I said that there was a particular person that worked in GW, and he explained how things went down in the late 80s and in the 90s, that they were trying to make female space marines models, but no one was buying them. So everything ended rather quickly. That was it pretty much. And then they had to think about something to make in the lore, you know, to have at
Hmm.
least a fraction of some kind of information.
Well, in many ways, there has been a lot of articles done, I guess, by more established media outlets to present 40K as being unfriendly or not being positive to, I guess, women. I know a while back there was a video. I wouldn't say it was done by BuzzFeed, but there was something where the reporter was interviewing women who do play Warhammer 40K, and they weren't really going for the whole bait and switch of, well, wait, this is we like this fantasy realm, we like how things are. Just because there aren't women space marines doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge other stronger women that are in Warhammer 40K. And what I feel is being done as an argument by those that want to change Warhammer 40K or make it fit into modern times or put in modern political thought into the environment is you're disrespecting the Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Silence,
Absolutely.
and all the other women characters in Warhammer 40K, be they a soldier in the Imperial Guard, to even women who have served as High Lords of Terra, or wait, is there? I think there is a woman who's a High Lord of Terra, or in the early stages when the Emperor conquered Terra, there's been women in positions of power, be they governors, generals, admirals. Creed's
Inquisitors.
daughter. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, inquisitors. Just adding.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's just, well, how come only men can be space marines? To which I have to say, would you really want a woman to go through the horrific transformation to become an Astartes? Because they're human, but they're not. They are us, but they're something different. And while they are men, male space marines cannot ever have a family. They will never be fathers. They will never have the ability of loving a human because they're incompatible. The Emperor made them that way, and I think that was done on purpose due to possibly his Thunder Warriors. But that's a theory I have somewhere down the road about why he also got rid of the Thunder Warriors. And I don't think there's any lore that could back it. It's just more of a fan brew theory of mine in regards towards how the Astartes are they are, and it has the possible connection of Thunder Warriors and just their actions on Terra.
Well, I always thought that, well, first, as a woman, which is kind of annoying to say, but yeah, as someone that's not a man, I never even thought about this before I actually heard it from, everyone else that are concerned with this. And as you
Mhm.
said, women that are playing the tabletop, they're not even thinking about that as well. And I'm playing the video games because I cannot afford to play the tabletop. Otherwise, I would be interested.
As can I.
Yeah, tabletop is a hobby that has a life on its own. So yeah, another topic entirely. But I am in 40k in all other kinds of ways. So I never even thought about that we should have female space marines because they are awesome. I mean, the space marines that we do have. In the same way, when I watched an action movie with Arnold or with Sylvester
Mhm.
Stallone or with Van Damme, because my dad watched a lot of these movies, and
Mhm.
I never thought for a second, wow, if only these guys were women, you know? It is important for all of us to have cool characters and cool male characters as well as female characters, and it's cool for guys and it's cool for girls, and we
Mhm.
still can relate to those people in the same way that guys can. I don't understand why what is stopping me to relate to Arnold, let's say, in Commando. you know he's a
You,
cool guy. He wants to save his daughter. He goes, he kills people, he saves his daughter. I mean, what is there not to understand? I just don't get it. And in the same way, not female, male space marines are just that. And I thought that the emperor made them this way, so they can't, uh, have children because that is the way that they're just focused on the goal, the imperium, the serving of it all, and they will never be concerned with families and having wives and all of that because they just have to be killing machines at the end of the day. That's kind of the
you,
idea. So yeah.
you, you bring up an interesting point about the Astartes only having the one goal of defending humanity and being at war. So here's the thing I like to expand on just a little bit more of what you addressed. I mean, that's what they are. They're warriors. They're only designed to be fighters for humanity and nothing else. With the Thunder Warriors, and this is just my theory about why the Emperor made them the way they are, because again, there's a whole idea of, do Space Marines have genitals? Are they like human males still? We don't know. I mean, there's been some lore to be hinted at it. Warhammer 40k community, add in your thoughts. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a lot of different points of view. But with the Thunder Warriors, they were so brutal. Oh no, that's perfectly fine. but with Thunder Warriors, you know, it's for me, I always felt like the Emperor got rid of them not only because with their gene seed unstable, but it's been talked about how brutal the Unification Wars were, and perhaps the Thunder Warriors, and I don't want to say anything to get the video flagged, but perhaps they were very hostile towards many encampments that had women. Maybe these Thunder Warriors were capable of interbreeding with the humans.
Oh boy,
That
I hope
yeah,
not.
yeah, which again, if said victim was able to survive, I mean, is that going to be a human or is that going to be a mutant? Because the Emperor couldn't control them, and even the Custodes. I forget which book it was, and again, somebody please comment which book it is, because there's so many books in
So
Black
many.
Library,
Yeah.
where they were disgusted with the brutality and the just how bloodthirsty the Thunder Warriors were. So that's where I'm coming from in regards to the Astartes. They did not have that flaw that you would see in Thunder Warriors, unless Thunder Warriors were just like that. But then again, there's another issue to bring up, and that is the Primarchs themselves, because it's one thing to bring up, well, how come there aren't female space marines? But look at the Primarchs, look at the Custodians, look at the Space Marines and the Thunder Warriors. The Emperor designed them for certain ways. Were they truly capable of enjoying the aspect of life that is humans? And humans,
Sorry.
we're an
Sorry.
animal species. Oh, that's all good.
I have an
We're an
animal species here in, beneath my legs, and it wants me to play with the bow. And I'm listening to you, and I'm pushing the bow and doing what I can. So yeah, continue, continue.
Oh no, that's fine. So I mean, the thing is, with humans, we are a species, and the whole thing is survival, living with somebody, being compatible, and the Emperor designed his warriors, at least his elite warriors, not to have that. So if you do have a female space marine, okay, that's great. But as I mentioned before, who are you selling to? Is your intended audience going to be a permanent audience? And then number three, in regards to the lore, are they going to be any different than the male space marines? Because if the male space marines are truly asexual, then it really truly doesn't matter. And in other words, you're destroying another half of the human species, in which the transformation process to become an Astartes is completely brutal, and a lot of them won't even survive. Is wasting
Yeah.
the gene seed on them even worth it? And Fabius Bile, he can make his comments, but that guy's not right in the head anyways.
Yeah, oh, well, you bring up a very good point because, they are so altered that are they even a man when they can perform some man functions? Because you can
No,
say, oh, they're not real men then. So by that logic, you can come up with all kinds of stuff uh, out of your butt, so to speak, and to say, oh no, 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 uh, they're not even like qualifying as a man because they don't have all the functions. So why would we have women space marines? There will not even be women. Like literally, they will not be women. So what's the point?
yeah. So one other thing I would like to add in regards to that is, you know, there's this article that I found. It's from October 25th. It's from Polygon. Okay, so everyone, hold on. But the title of it is "Welcome to Warhammer 40k's Anti-Fascist Future," into which the article it doesn't talk about women's space marines, but it talks about how the game, the lore has attracted people who are alt right and pro fascist and horrible trolls, completely bad people. To which I have to say, I've spoken to many people who are part of the Warhammer 40k community, all of them from different backgrounds, all of them from are different representations of humanity, and they all have been wonderful, great people. I think, in many ways, the way Warhammer 40k has its lore set up, specifically around the Space Marines, you see this movement in entertainment to where you want to interject modern day politics into all forms of fiction and science fiction, and it doesn't work. Case in point with Rey Skywalker. I know it's a different lore altogether. In the new Star Wars trilogy, I saw the first movie in theaters. I didn't see the other two. I saw them pirated. I know I'm a bad person, but there was a point where I was watching the first movie, and when she defeats Kylo Ren, I just say to myself, I don't need to worry about you. You're perfectly fine. You can handle yourself. You're a okay. I'm not on edge. And so here's where I'm going to be connecting into Warhammer 40k with female space marines. They made Rey into this unstoppable force that never knew defeat. She never lost an arm. She was always perfect at everything that she did. And so, for those that want to interject that kind of character in Warhammer 40k, do I need to worry about their well being? Are they going to be smacking around the avatar of Korn? Are they going to defeat the maze that's in Zinch's realm with ease? And that's it? I mean, is everything going to be given to them? Because it's one thing to tell a story and put in your perspective, but are you going to keep the fans? Are you going to keep the fans interested? And respecting the fans is how an intellectual property remains relevant for the years to come. Because again, Warhammer 40k, I think it was, or at least Games Workshop, they started in the 80s. And only now have we seen such a massive push forward with the lore and current stories, with the return of Gilliman and the Silent King, and I think what's it, Grazkull, who is now trying to unite the Orc hordes, and all of this. Uh,
Yeah, 30
y-
years
y-
later, we have a progress.
yeah, 30 years later, we do have we do have progress, but the thing is, when you add in a character or at least a faction, let's say female Space Marines, where do they fit in? Are they going to be invincible? Are they going to be so incredible that no one knows how to defeat them in battle? And this was the Emperor's plan all along, because that makes no sense. You have to respect intellectual property. You have to also keep people scared. Like, for example, Sarah Connor in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. I was worried for that character.
Oh, yeah.
Ellen Ripley in Alien and Aliens 2 and Aliens 3. I didn't like the ending to Aliens 3, but anyways, that's just my opinion. But I was worried for her because in those situations she was on her own and fighting an impossible situation that was understandably out of her control. Same for Sarah Connor. And when you have women characters in Warhammer 40k, I'm concerned for them because most of the time, unless they're a sister of silence or a sister of battle, they're a regular human being facing off against monstrosities that I would run away with in a deadbeat second. So
And scream
it's
like a
it's
little girl, as Johnny Bravo says.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, no, no. I'd run. Oh, I'd run. What, facing off against a Tyranid? Hey, Commissar, end me right now. That thing's spitting out creatures that will eat me inside out. I don't want that. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. And so when the Templeton Institute made this, were they purposely trying to be edgy? Were they trying to tell Games Workshop, you better do this or you're going to get canceled? To which, if I was Games Workshop, again, marketability. Who are you selling it to? And is your intended audience a permanent audience? And are you just trying to get points on social media, which is something that's it's not lasting because there's always going to be the next thing to be outraged at. There's another thing to be worried about. And the thing is, you have to earn the fandom's love for a character.
Yeah.
Terminator 1 and 2, you care about her. Ellen Ripley for the Aliens trilogy. Um, but then again, you have, for example, Creed's daughter. All right, now Creed is gone with the fall. Rest in peace, Cadia. There we go. I had to give a little praise to Cadia, but she
Kadia.
remains, and she's an outstanding character. But think about it, she has to now live up to the image and legacy of her father, and she has to be her own character altogether. Like, I'm concerned for her, concerned for the future of what remains of the people from Cadia, and overall what she will do going forward, facing off against the unending enemies of the Imperium. I have to care about a character, and I have to care about where they stand. And I think people who call for women space marines should not be as dismissive towards the women that are already represented outstanding in Warhammer 40k. And so that's just my perspective. Unless there's a, I think somebody's saying in the chat is, how come there are no female orcs?
Ah, you see? Great question. I mean, you can't make everything female. I mean, when everything exists because it has some kind of a purpose. If female
Hmm.
space marines don't really have a point to them, there's there's no meaning in them existing. That's the thing. So they have to make it make sense. Games Workshop also have to somehow say that after all of this time that people were alive and knew that 40k exists and knew that there was a male space marines, all of a sudden there's somehow female space marines, but we never heard of them and they were nowhere up to this point. So how did this happen? They have to write a ton of explanations and
Hmm.
just what say that the emperor made a very secret legion and he put it in the end of the galaxy and it's like a safety net for some kind of a horrible situation in the future. I mean, they really have to pull stuff out of the hat somehow. And why would they do that when they already have a perfectly good story overall? And It has a beginning and a middle, and we still going, and from that doesn't have an end, but it's great. So why would you do that? There's just no point to it. And I think that the Templin Institute actually was just coming from a position of a social justice warrior for some reason. I mean, which doesn't require any intelligence at all. It's just like a horse that doesn't see anything from the side because it has two lids, like here, and they're just seeing whatever is in front of their eyes, but they never see like from the side. So yeah, it's one-sided. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
So uh, when we also look at entertainment, you have to make people, as I said before, you have to keep people engaged, and you don't want to enrage the fandom too, because we've seen with other intellectual properties, especially Disney, with their handling of characters from Marvel, making things one-sided, or even with Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, across the board. I mean, we're witnessing a decline of two at one point very powerful IPs, and people are starting to either get fatigued, or they don't like getting talked down to, or hearing people go ahead and play video games or watch movies or TV shows to escape the realities of life, or to get entertained, because we all deserve entertainment. But when
Yeah,
you start
absolutely.
wagging your finger and start preaching something, it's like I don't have time for this. When you have what was that? I think recently Marvel Phase 4.
Oh my god.
Um,
Oh, that's a
yeah,
rabbit hole.
yeah. That's the landmine. Marvel Phase 4. I think the only successful movie from that franchise was Spider-Man: No Way Home, and that was Sony, because it respected the fandom. But when you have Thor: Love and Thunder, where again they made Thor into a clown. Uh,
Yeah,
it,
that's
it,
exactly what I was going to say. He was like a complete clown, total disrespect to his character and basically everything else that was going on. And at the end of it, I was like, "What was this? And
mhm.
why it? Why? It just why?"
Now, now, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I do like to see equality. I am impressed when you see a woman character face an impossible situation, or overcome a a obstacle that will challenge them. But I want to see it earned. And I think in current writing right now, what we're seeing is actually a disrespect to women, and
Yeah,
that is it's being handed to them. Like, again, there's a difference between men and women, and that is I can't see how a woman be weighing let's an average guy will weighs what 150 pounds, 200, sometimes here or there, depending on their shape. And if they go to the gym and they work out, I can't see how one of these small women characters can just backflip a guy and throw him out the window, and then that's it. You have to show that they're
yeah,
that they're facing off against somebody that's maybe a lot stronger than them. You have to see the battle and the respect earned. Sarah Connor got that.
Sarah Connor. Yeah,
Ellen Ripley, yeah. So,
yeah.
but again, I'm not counting in the future movies, because we're gonna pretend that they don't exist. But
That's
I
hard.
do but I do like to see representation, but I want to see it earned. Make me care. Make me understand. Why should I care about this character? You're telling me a story in my living room, or I'm playing a video game. I want to be concerned for their well-being, and I want to see them succeed. My favorite captain in Star Trek is Benjamin Sisko, from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And the reason why I could relate to him, yes, Benjamin Sisko is black and I'm Caucasian, but the reason why I liked him is because he seemed more human than Picard or Kirk. Sisko had a son. He lost his wife in a devastating battle at Wolf 359. And, you see him go through his journey. He eventually finds love again and has another kid on the way, and he rises up to rank to being one of the high tier commanders in the Dominion War. I want to see a character succeed. And I think modern writing is just trying to show people this person's great, you should love them, and if you don't love them, well, you're a very bad person.
Yeah. One more example for bad writing of a female character, Captain Marvel.
Oh, we dare not speak her name. She's similar to Malal. We don't speak her name. we don't
Yeah.
we don't speak of the one called Brie Larson, who I think what are they doing? Like their fourth reshoot of the sequel to Captain Marvel. It's called The Marvels, and it's just it's god awful.
Oh
How many?
gosh, yeah, that I can't even I couldn't finish if sorry sorry I was thinking about 10 things at once. I couldn't even finish the freaking show because it was so dumb. I watched the
Okay,
first episode and I was like, I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just not gonna watch it. Click, it's
so
ridiculous.
the Marvels had a lot of reshoots. Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels undergoing more reshoots. This is at least according to the articles that I'm seeing right here. I haven't clicked on them. Oh my goodness, this is actually very sad. How
Yeah,
is it that you're a multi-billion dollar corporation and you can't get a sequel to a movie right? Oh no.
it's
Oh
bad.
wow. I'm embarrassed for them. I feel
Yeah.
sorry. Stan Lee, don't look at what they're doing to your child.
Well, it's not only Stanley actually, but yeah. I mean, the point is that Kevin Feige just went so far catering to the minority that everything went to total, well, crap. And now, coming back from Endgame, which was one of the best superhero movies, to see what is happening now, it's absolutely, I don't know, it's ridiculous. And I actually, today I watched a review for Shazam, the Grace Randolph review,
Mhm.
because she already watched it, and she said it's like through and through, it's a very good movie that's better than the Marvel movies, most of them, and even has better special effects that don't look like complete crap like what we saw in Ant Man. So yeah, I actually considering not to see anything on the cinema anytime soon, especially when it's a Marvel movie. I mean, I haven't seen Ant Man at the movies, I can tell you that. I haven't seen Wakanda Forever at the movies. I waited out, on good quality, and I totally don't
Mhm.
regret. It was a very time saving experience for me not to go to the movies and waste my time there. So yeah,
You know, I did see the first Black Panther movie, and I saw it twice. And my second time watching it, I was kind of like not focusing then on the characters, but I was more interested in the world. Like, okay, can you explain a little bit more about Wakanda? It's been isolated for years. Like, how is it that a human empire just can't engage with anyone? I like to read the histories of like fallen empires and the history of empires in the past. Like, there's the Fall of Civilization podcast. I love that YouTube channel, and they talk about the rise and fall of empires. And I was curious about that. Like, how is it that something like that exists? And then when I did see the reviews for Black Panther 2, and it's okay. It's an interesting story. I wish they should have recasted. That's my opinion. They should have just recasted and
yeah,
not gone in the direction. But that's water under the bridge. The ink is already dry. So who cares about my opinion? My opinion is invalid at this point. But it's more of you got to respect the property, the IP, because if people are being lectured to, especially the way Phase Four was doing that, then you will get a quick um, pushback from the consumer saying, "I don't want to watch it." And Disney Plus Marvel movie or Disney Plus Marvel TV shows are the exact same thing. I mean, they did what's it? Not Moon Knight,
yeah,
and it wasn't even about Moon Knight. They did a show about Loki, and it wasn't even about Loki.
yeah.
They did a show on Hawkeye, and it wasn't even about Hawkeye.
It was
Like,
about everyone else.
yes, everyone else but the person in the show. That's what the next Marvel show should be. This is going to be about this character. This character is going to be the headline, but focus on the side character. Same thing like with oh god, I don't want to bring it up. That first episode of She-Hulk where she talks to Bruce about controlling anger, and I'm like, oh, geez, does your family even know what his dad did to him and his mother and the emotional abuse and then being the U.S. government's number one target? Like, this guy
Jesus.
is suffering from trauma and PTSD.
So much.
like, like if I was Bruce Banner, I would have got up and be like, okay, I can't talk to you. We have to go our own way.
Yeah, and she did not control her anger while saying this, so it's kind of like defeating her own argument right then and there.
Hmm.
So it's so stupid as a scene and contradictory. But I think that your opinion about recasting Chadwick is still valid on principle. And I think the same, on principle, when something like this happen, there should always be like a priority about the character and the
Hmm.
movie series franchise, whatever it is. That should be like a priority because the actor gave their all. They
Oh
were
yes, he
this
did.
character. They embodied it. They did their great job, and now it's time to continue with the movie. And with that, you're still honoring this actor and you're honoring the character that he was playing. But now they deleted this character basically. They just killed him
Hmm.
off with the same disease that he died in real life, which is ridiculous. And they put his sister, which is probably 2 times skinnier than me, to play a very strong character, which is the same thing that you mentioned.
Hmm.
So everything that this movie was when I watched it was basically a total disrespect to everything that was put before it. And they
Hmm.
go in a totally different direction just to introduce Namor, who is not even a part of Wakanda like directly. It's just something. I mean, he is in a lot of comics, interacting with a lot of characters. It's not even about anything really. It's not even about Wakanda that much, and it's called Wakanda Forever, and it's supposed to be about the Black Panther in the first place, then Wakanda second. And then there's of course the whole hypocrisy around the fact that Wakandans think that they're the greatest nation in the world, but they don't want to help anyone, so they're entitled to everything. And
Hmm.
when I watched that show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was a scene where the what was their name? The guard.
Well, there's Winter Soldier. There is Falcon, and
No,
I
no, the
know that
female
there was.
guard of Wakanda.
Oh, her. Yes. Geez.
The whole
Uh,
guard, not only the general, but like the whole guard. What was their name? How are they called? That's my question. The
uh,
probably the
oh,
chat
I
will
don't
tell
know.
us.
Yeah, I don't know their name, but we'll just call them the guard. We'll just call them the guard
Okay,
right now.
so yeah, the guard was there on a mission to capture Baron Zemo, as far as I remember, and one of, well, let's say the main guard that was in charge by that time, she was like, the Dora Milaje. Yes, the Dora Milaje.
Mhm.
That's how they're called. So she's
Okay.
like, the Dora Milaje have jurisdiction where the Dora Milaje find themselves to be. So what, you
That's
can come
that's
in
it.
my country and be like an asshole?
There's
No,
there's
you
there's
can't.
consequences to doing that. There's consequences.
Yeah, get out
Unfortunate,
of here.
unfortunate, horrific consequences. So it's good that you brought this up here too, because when we look at um even then, like interjecting things, like there's always a quote unquote lesson that's supposed to be learned. And my thoughts are, okay, if you're trying to teach a story, what is the overall end conclusion? And for most of Marvel Phase 4, they said it was about dealing with loss and pain. And I could say the loss and pain of having a coherent story, because they had an end at Endgame, or not Endgame, but yeah, it was Endgame, because there was Infinity War and then there was Endgame.
Yeah.
At Endgame, everything was wrapped up in a nice little package. And if I was Disney, I'd be like, okay, we got to the end. Let's let this thing rest for a little bit. Like you're cooking a nice steak dinner, let the meat rest. And then, I don't know, somewhere down the road, we do a little reboot. Different actors playing Tony Stark or Captain America or, Black Panther. Like all these characters, like eventually, like, because people are going to start growing older, people won't be able to be the spring chickens that they are. But the thing could literally crap out money. And going back to 40K, I mean, the whole idea of something like Warhammer 40k is, hey, it's got to sell those miniatures. That's the reason why we haven't seen the squats until they made their comeback as a different form. Stay around. Everything, if it's not popular with the consumer, well, they're going to get rid of it. And majority votes in a consumer IP, you have you have to appease your customer base. You just don't want to push them away. And Marvel is learning that lesson the hard way, as is Star Wars. You know, I've heard from people saying that Andor is good. I haven't watched Andor,
Yeah, me
and
too.
then there's talk of the Mandalorian, which I haven't had a chance to check out, or Bad Batch, because when I watched the new sequel trilogy, I'm like, this is the direction they're going. Because I'm somewhat, and I somewhat familiar with Star Wars lore, but if that's what happened to the New Republic and it became this weak thing, then I'm not interested in any other stories that are connected to it. You got make me
Yeah.
care again, and when we talk about Warhammer 40k, the first thing that got me interested into it was when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2008. I used to go to there was a bookstore, Barnes and Noble, and I was looking for books on history, and I was using the computer looking for books like Fall. I was looking for the Empire, and for some reason it typed up Imperium of Man, and I was like, oh, what's this? And it was a science fiction series, and I saw this book stand out. This is what got me interested in Warhammer 40k. This first book right here called 15 Hours,
Oh, cool.
and I I was reading it halfway through and I was like, I want to own this book. This sounds so interesting. And gradually over time, I cared. I wanted to know more about 40k. I wanted to know more about this realm where it's absolute madness. And it's a story about an individual named Larn who um, is on a war planet. Went through 4 months of training. He is has 15 hours supposedly to live in this war zone, and he's facing off against orcs. I'm concerned for him because he really believes in the Empire, the Imperium, and I don't want to spoil too much because because I think it's a really good book. But he has this great story about his grandfather, and he tells it to his fellow squad mates. So there you go. I'm leaving you all on the hook, wanting to know more. But that story got me to care. And I, as a consumer, need to care. And if you're gonna have a female space marine, make me care. But the more broadly, for any IP, any character, no matter what color they are, their gender, make me care about them. Make them compelling. Show me them at their weakest. If everything's being handed to them and they could do somersaults around the enemy, well, then I'm just gonna be like, I don't have to care about you. You're gonna be fine. You keep your head up, kid. You do just fine. I don't have to worry about you then. So
Yeah.
that's my perspective of it.
Well, that's a perfect point because we do have to have principles and everything. So if those principles are not, uh, well, they're not kept when you're writing a story, a character, whatever it is, they just lose meaning, lose their weight overall, and we don't care, like you said. So they
So
forgot that you're not writing the characters like they're just vegetables that can do everything. You're writing them, and so we can somehow see that they have a starting point, a growth, development,
mhm.
something happens, you know?
There's one thing I would like to interject, and somebody in the chat, Alex, says, "Let's hope Henry Cavill can pull a miracle and is given enough freedom to create something good in Warhammer." So it's somewhat related to what we're talking about, but what do you think of a live action Warhammer 40k series? I mean, I would like to see it, but I think for many people, I think they would be in a state of shock of just how brutal it is, and I do hope he has the freedom to go all out. Do you think it's possible? And do you think like a normal person who never heard of 40k would be engaged with it? Because it's like I want to see it, but I'm kind of 50-50 on if it can truly be done. Because if it can be done, then it's a miracle.
Well, if I have to see it from my perspective, but the first time when I saw anything that was related to 40k, was the Siyama Pedersen animation Astartes. That
Mm.
is so good. Might as well be live action. And I never seen such a thing before. I thought that they're very unique, the Astartes, because they had such a huge armor and they were so fast and so agile and so capable. And I was like glued to the screen, you know, like this.
Hmm.
And to me was, I mean, the most appealing thing overall that 40k Duke possesses is the uniqueness of it because there's just nothing else like it. It's not like Star Wars, it's not like Star Trek, it's not like anything else that I ever seen. It's very unique by its style, the artistry of it, everything. So as someone that loves action, sci-fi, all of those genres, to me that was just amazing. So I was glued and a fan right away. I wanted to know more, and here we are, 2 years later almost now. So I think that a live action would be great, but they have to have a lot of budget for it because we are talking about a lot of special effects here. And brutality is not gonna be like all the time because they cannot have Astartes battle every 5 seconds, shooting
Hmm.
limbs off of Tyranids and people flying around, being torn apart by something or whatever. I mean, we have seen such things before in other movies or franchises. It's not that much big of a deal, to me at least. We will not have any, sexual content. I don't dare say this word in YouTube. But yeah, we will not have that because 40k does not have anything of that. So we will just have some gore from time to time. I don't see how it is such a big deal, honestly. But they just have to have a lot of money. That's it.
I I would say I hope Henry does have the full creativity to do what he wants. The way he was treated on The Witcher, and look, he's an actor. That's his profession. He knows what he's doing. Who am I to tell him how to act or everything else? But he was also a fan of The Witcher lore, and at least according to all reports, at least from his perspective, and I have to say the evidence is in support. I think of what he said is that they didn't really care about the lore. They didn't care about the story, and I hope that he has that full on directive control because he liked The Witcher, and there were things he wanted to do to improve his scenes because he understood the character. But also when we look at his passion for 40k,
Yeah.
he wants it to be on point. And the thing is, I could see some producer. I'm gonna enrage the chat, but I could see some dumb producer saying, "Hey, these Iron Warriors and these Imperial Fists, they put the toys together. How come they can't be friends?" And it's just like you know that some dumb producer is gonna say something stupid
Yeah.
and try and interject something in there, and that's not the case. So I believe Henry Cavill's ability to lead a potential live action Warhammer 40k series. I think that could be done, and there's a lot of ways in which you can make a story compelling. Um, on the other hand, too, there's always the punk idiot jagoff people who are producers who want to weigh in and say, "Here's how we can improve the story better," and that's an issue that we should be a little bit concerned about. But then again, I used to joke with people because there was that old Ultramarines movie where people said, "Oh, that's a terrible Warhammer 40k. Warhammer can't do any live action." This is before fans started posting content on YouTube, and then I was lucky enough to find the video links to the early days of Hell's Reach when that movie was being made, or on YouTube, or at least hand drawn by Richard Bolin,
Amazing,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I was like, oh wow. Hey, Warhammer 40k, start talking to these people that are doing this original content because they just finally broke your curse. This is a good story, and Hell's Reach is a fantastic story, by the way. But
Yeah.
he put it in a way to where, oh, I've read this book, but I'm compelled to see it finally live action, and it's incredible. Not live, it was animated, but yeah, okay. But
It's
anyways,
something
so
on the
yeah,
screen. We can see it, we can experience it, we can be immersed in it. It's still something. It
yeah.
was very stylistic. It was getting in color, It was as it was progressing, so it was pretty unique.
Yeah, and then I like how it ended when it turned into its original shade of black and white and sketchy, where Grimeldus was walking away. Again, fantastic direction by the content creator, and so Hell's Reach done perfectly. But that was in the hands of somebody who knew what they were doing, sacrificed God knows how many hours of their life to give us that gift, then that privilege to watch Hell's Reach in animated form. But there's always executives and producers that want to weigh in. So there is that concern, and eventually, let's say it does take off. There is the other thing of, how people will then start getting more curious, learning more about set environments, just like with Game of Thrones when it was still hot. Well, at least House of Dragon, I liked it. It got me to care again just a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, people were asking, well, whoa, what's going on in the world of ice and fire? Eventually, people are going to go back to the original question that we brought up in this video. How come there are no female space marines? And it's just like, guys, that's another thing too with live action. People will start wanting to know more and interjecting and putting their theories, and then because there's so many articles about 40k being alt right or fascist or horrible, it's filled with trolls. And as I said earlier, I've spoken to people who are part of the Warhammer 40k community. They're great. I met a lot of nice people. And yes, in every IP and every fandom, you're going to have that 1% of idiots. And you're in Star Trek, they're in Star Wars. Yes, they are
Yeah.
in 40K, but they don't make up the majority. The vast majority of all fandoms are filled with generally good people that just want to see their stories and characters respected, because this is our modern mythology. It's what we care about. It's what we go to escape going to work, or God, sometimes the way life throws cinder blocks at us. Like I recently lost my grandfather, and when I had some downtime, I was reading some Warhammer 40k lore. I was watching some 40k content. I was able to kind of at least at one point distance myself, and that was a little heavy to deal with. But that's something that I enjoy for escapism. It's something I enjoy to relax and to not worry about something for the next few minutes or half
Yeah,
hour,
that's
hour,
that's
etc.
entertainment, literally. And if you want to watch something real, just put on the news and be horrified. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I've done plenty of news coverage and so much more. It's sometimes it takes a toll on you too.
Yeah, I know. And I personally had to find very well earlier in life and be disappointed by my first community that I was a part of, and that was the Xena Warrior Princess community. Like
Mm.
on all over the internet. I thought that everyone are like me, you know, just fans of Zida and everything that she is. But no, there's a lot of stuff there that are the early AJW things that are pushed down our throats, and people are in two camps. Because, as you know, Xena is considered as a gay icon, although she's not. She's actually
Yeah,
not. But people have very vast fantasies, and they decided to turn the subtext into the core lore, which is not. And they said, no, no, but one producer, she is gay, so Zina and Gabriel are gay. And from that point on, they're gay. Although in the official story, they're never confirmed to be that. But, there's no more like thinking about the real meaning behind the story and what Xena had to go through. There's like only
mhm,
her sexuality now, nothing
yeah,
else, and
yeah. Because
it's
Xeno's like a
shame.
war criminal in many ways. Like in her early days before she changed. She was a brutal warrior that hurt innocent people. Like I think people forget that Xena was at one point a bad person.
Yeah,
It,
that is. I mean, she is a perfect example of amazing writing of a female character because she does have this arc of
Mhm.
being a bad person, redemption, how she dedicated her life to do good so she can balance out the bad that she did. And it was absolutely amazing to watch. And there's some episodes where they showed how initially she was a good person, but then one guy burned her village, and she lost her little brother, and then she decided to gather an army and go after this guy to have revenge. But then she lost herself in the process and became evil herself and started attacking other villages. And then Caesar came along, and Ares came along, and then other stuff happened. And all of these years later, she met Hercules, and he helped her see the error of her ways, and that was just amazing. It goes through a lot of episodes, but it's worth to watch because there's nothing else like that still on screen to this day.
I actually forgot that she met some historical characters on her journey. I mean, I remember the legendary adventures of Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess, but I forgot that she did meet Caesar and so many other people,
Yeah,
at least from ancient Rome. And I'm like, wow, Xena, you have done a lot.
she was
You've met a lot of
integrated.
people.
Yeah, in real history, that was the cool thing, and Caesar was the one that shaped her into a more evil person at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because he made her fall in love with him, and he double crossed her to her ship, and basically put her on the cross for the first time. She almost died there on that cross. She had to be saved, and then after that she like swore to hunt him down and just to become a lot stronger so she can fight uh, people like that are very cunning, very smart, and she wanted to be better than anyone. And that led her to a ton more stuff and other historical characters, including Pompey, which that was the funny part. That was when she was already good, and she met Caesar
Yeah.
and she did a number on him and on a Pompey too. Eventually, ending up in killing Pompey, beheading him. That was so fun. But I mean, there's just
He was
so
a
many
council
things.
of Rome.
Yeah, there are just so many brilliant stories there. The way that they're structured, that the way that they're thought out, I just can't stop to this day to be amazed by everything in Xena. But you know what to do. People are going to forget about the show eventually, although it's still talked about here and there.
Hey, it's always great to reference something from the past because I think people forget how that was our like a lot of people's mainstream entertainment. Like for example, even the original Star Trek series, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. If you compare just how those shows were done and how like, they're being done now, I mean, there was bright TV lighting and there was an episodic adventure. It was people's escapism and again our modern mythology. But all those stories had a lesson in them, be it the Star Trek series or Xena or Hercules. There was always a lesson to be learned. There was always a story or something to be perceived from said story, and you were entertained by it. And I think a lot of modern audiences and even people who are my age or and the next generation after me or after us, I think that's kind of being lost. They're not seeing some of these stories that are still relevant, I think, to this day and age. And I think they tell them a lot better compared to, well, the corporate uh, cesspool that's feeding us this garbage every day, which is, again,
Yeah,
yeah. So, and
exactly.
that's why we have original content creators, and that's also why we have wonderful fans, incredible fans who, like to, you know, uh, put some more love into a series that hasn't got a lot of attention. Like, what was it? Is Games Workshop still going after original animators still,
I don't think
or
so.
they?
I don't think so.
Okay,
They hired whoever they could, and by this point, everything I think it's a mess on the inside.
okay.
I don't think they're after anyone now, though.
No. What I meant is, are they still like flagging fans who don't work for Games Workshop who
No, no, that's
do their
also
own
what I
animation?
mean. I don't see that at
Oh,
all.
oh. Okay, I was not aware of that. Okay, well, that's that's my 2 cents. I think we owned the Templeton Institute and gave in our opinions in regards to where entertainment's going and the idea of female space marines. I have to say your analysis on a lot of Warhammer 40k content has been outstanding, and
Oh,
as always, it's been great. It's been real great, and I was glad we were able to do this.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very flattered, actually. And your content as well is super awesome and interesting. So yeah, guys, go and check the awesome channel of Chicago Reacts. There's a lot of stuff there and a lot of awesome reactions actually to stuff that I also wanted to check, but just
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I want to give a shout out to my colleagues at Chicago Reacts. We have done a lot of React channels, and I think we also have we have our Twitch channel, Chicago Plays, and we're working on a few other channels too. But I know that they're in the works, so I don't think I could say any more about that. Yes, that's happening.
No
I
need,
promise
don't
some
jinx
fun.
it. Don't jinx it.
Yeah.
Do you
So,
want us to address some of the comments or you don't have time?
oh no, I have plenty of time. Let's go ahead and talk to the comments. Let's talk to the people.
Okay, so guys, I just want to say we did totally went off topic, although it is normal because all of the things that we did touched upon were connected to the whole thing with the female integration, so to speak,
Hmm.
in 40k on principle. They're all connected. The stuff that are going out now, and there was actually, we have also here in Bulgaria some. Uh, Facebook Bulgarian groups about comic books. There was something about some new Marvel characters that were gay in the comic books, and some people. I mean, do you support this? Which I was like a bit surprised because here we are, you know, back with the times. We are not in the SJW mindset just yet.
Mm.
So that's kind of alien to see that someone will say that that's just perfectly fine when it's like forced and is done only to be done. It's not done because it has some kind of a meaning to it. So
Hmm.
it's just something that is starting to build up here, which is just not good. Yeah.
I,
So
I,
yeah, I just
I,
wanted
I
to
w-
mention that.
I would say, like, look, I mean, if you want to tell a story about a character, make people care about them. You know, get me engaged. Like, show me their hero's journey. Otherwise, like, if you're going to say that this is how it is, look at right now how Marvel and Disney are struggling. It's not because they have the moral high ground. It's because they're telling subpar stories. They have writers who don't respect the lore that want to interject their ideas, and then you have directors that want to interject their own ideas, and they're doing a terrible job marketing. It's all about, look, if you're going to tell a story, you want somebody to listen and to buy it. They want somebody, you want a consumer to care. And you can have a person of a different color or gender, or go through a story, but make the consumer care about said character. Show them that, this person has feelings, emotions, thoughts. But if you start saying, well, they're all better than you, and everyone that or this movie or TV show, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Okay, a consumer's going to be like, okay, fine, then I won't watch it.
Yeah.
I'll walk away. And that's a world we live in. If you say you're not allowed to see it, okay, I guess I'm not invited. I would like to know the story. Tell me about it. But otherwise, if the whole purpose again of any form of entertainment is to keep people engaged, keep them in their seats, make them
Yeah.
want more. That's what you want. And if the character is told good, if there's a gay character, a straight character, a person who's a senior citizen or adult or a child, if this character is going through the hero's journey, show us what kind of obstacles they have to face. Make me care. It doesn't have to be done in the science fiction realm. In movies and entertainment in general, make a person care about the story. Because if you say it's not for you or you won't get it, then the audience will disengage. And just like with Marvel and Disney and Star Wars, you're seeing all audiences disengage. The numbers speak for themselves for Marvel and for Marvel and Star Wars. Audiences aren't coming in. Now, again, for Star Wars, I'll leave it to chat. Am I wrong about this? Because if I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
You're not. You're totally not wrong. It is
Mm.
it is so. It is so. So yeah, and for those people that are going to say that I'm somehow against such relationships, that's just couldn't be further from the truth. It's just the same principle that is not kept here. You know, like you said, they're just putting things in without making us care, and they are saying that, well, those are these characters. Now watch them, and that's it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why would I do that? There's just no interesting about them. And for example, as well, Superman's son in the comic books. Like, what is that thing?
Would yeah, and then the people weren't buying it. So again, DC's going through the same thing too. If if you're telling stories that aren't engaging or just to be clickbait for the media, then the audience won't engage in it. Like I remember a time when like Marvel and DC, I was going to say Disney, Marvel and DC would have comic books and series and story arcs that would keep you engaged. You're there to be engaged to see the story arc, and if there's if there's some progression with the main character or either that side characters that are really interesting, that's the writer's job. It's not my job as a consumer just to consume because I have to. It's
Because
because
you're a
I
sheep or
want to.
something.
Yeah, it's like no, I want to spend. Obviously, no comic book costs $1, but if I'm gonna spend one green American dollar on anything, I want to make sure it's something I want to keep and be entertained by. That's what you want to do. That's what any consumer wants to do. And I don't care what country you live in. If there's something you want to watch that's entertaining, you want to make sure you're going to get your value in time. People's time is important, and in this day and age, everybody's busy.
Yeah. Well, you brought up all the perfect points, basically. I mean, I agree with everything. This is
Hmm.
exactly what it is. So now we're going to be seeing some kind of a change is made. I don't know what, but
Hmm.
if starting with DC, if Shazam is good, well, that is also, I mean, that's always good. It's a win-win. And then
Hmm.
we'll see how things are going to go from there, really. From the DC side, from the Marvel side, if they're doing reshoots, maybe they're going to fix something, hopefully. But yeah, I'll probably not go to the cinemas anytime soon. Maybe just to see Shazam, but other than that, I don't know. For now, at least. I don't feel myself spending money right now about things that I will probably be at least, I mean, at the most I will be like, ah, meh, it's meh. You know, I don't want to watch meh anymore.
I think what needs to be done, and I know there's a lot of diehard fans or what remains of diehard fans for Star Wars or Marvel or Disney is a little break, a reset needs to be put in order, a disengagement because um, now what's happening is our modern mythology is being dragged around in the dirt, and I don't want to see that. Look. I want to see if something's going to be on the big screen or on our Library of Alexandria, our cell phones. Uh, you know, I want to see it to be just to be engaged. I want to see success. I don't want to see something just to see it suck. I mean, that's terrible. If something's terrible, no, then why did you release it? So there needs to be a little bit of a break, a little bit of a cool down period because there's a couple things that Marvel could do. They could number one, stop and then say, hey, we're doing a new retelling of our characters 10 years down the road. Keep it secret, but do that. Same thing with DC. Figure yourselves out. And then with Star Wars, oof, just say that the new trilogy is just an alternate universe and move on. Move on. We're gonna tell a whole new trilogy. That's really what should be done. But I think these CEOs think that the consumer will keep on being a sheep, and this is a lesson that Games Workshop, Warhammer 40k need to take into account. Respect your fans, or you will end up like Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars, or DC, or The Witcher. You will end up like that. And Game of Thrones, I think, in many ways, kind of recaptured some of their fans with House of the Dragon because I want to say I think it respected the lore enough to make me say, okay, I could forgive you for season 8. Not all the time, but I'm curious to see season 2 now. You earn my love again. Earn it.
Yeah.
Just earn it. That's what you have to do.
Well, about Game of Thrones, I would say that forgiving them for season 8 and liking House of the Dragon are two different things. I mean, season 8 is not excusable, but now what they're doing with with the House of the Dragon is just once again a quality on its own. I mean, it's not the same as Game of Thrones because I rewatched Game of Thrones, rewatched it at the
Mhm.
same time as I watched, House of the Dragon. So first season of Game of Thrones is so brilliant. It cannot compare to House of the Dragon. It just runs a lot better. The pacing, everything is a lot better. But still, House of the Dragon is solid in many, many ways. And it's nothing like the crap that we have been served lately. So it's great. Season 8 is still crap. And hopefully we can move on from here.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, like in regards to House of the Dragon, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna begrudgingly watch it because I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be another repeat of season 8, something stupid, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, I could forgive House of. So I guess it was my own apology for that. I'm sorry I compared you to season 8. So your own thing, House of the Dragon. I love you. You're more than welcome to be in my house any day. Just stay close to the lore, and I'll be watching every single episode. And I have to say, it was done phenomenally. It was done well. And Alex says, "Money talks, and money says, respect the fans or grow broke eventually."
Yeah.
Yes, respect the fans. You got to respect the fans because normal people, people who aren't familiar with the lore, they're not going to care. They're going to move on to the next thing. It's the fandom you want to respect. If you don't respect the fandom, then they're not going to respect you. Win the crowd, like the line from Gladiator. Win the crowd, you'll win your freedom. Win the
Ah,
crowd, and you'll get your money back.
yeah. I mean, values that actually work. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah. Some stuff, like I said, it's all about principles, and some
Hmm.
principles are there for a reason. When you start like ignoring them, then you have a shell without the shine, or a snail without the snail inside. I cannot think of a very good analogy right now, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Okay, so we were about to check the comments real quick. Not everything because there's too many of them, but people are talking about everything the whole time. I hope my Primarchs are here. All the Primarchs are here. That's awesome. So yeah, he's from my country. Hi to
Hmm.
you. So good character should not be defined by a single physical characteristic like female or yeah. Once again, I try to not say some words that often because YouTube, not because I don't want to say them, we
Mm.
have to self censor ourselves. So just have that in mind. It's not because we want to. The only fictional character that can ever be described with one word is Batman because he is Batman, which is so funny.
True.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah, that's fun. And Matty says they say respect the science. Well, the science says go woe, go broke. It's just fact that when you ramble the leftist narrative, you end up going broke. Yeah. Although I don't, I'm not very well versed in U.S. politics. Who is left? Who is right? We don't have such things here, so I don't know them. But I know the principles of all of those things. I mean, the way that um, the opinions, the sides. So that's enough for me. Just call everything SJW, and that's nuts. That could be considered very unreasonable, and that's just perfectly, sums it up. And Ivy says money can drive you a certain way, but the last some media does that, and as long as it's enjoyable for tons of people, cheers. Eh,
Hmm.
yeah. But I'm kind of surprised actually that the Mandalorian is tanking right now because it's good. I mean, personally for me, it feels like Star Wars. It's pretty good. I haven't watched Endor like you, like I said, but Mandalorian's pretty good. Good, yeah. I don't know what's happening there now.
Hmm. Let me go see. Well, let's see. Money can, yeah, exactly. Money can drive you certainly, but alas, some media does that, as you said, and as long as it's enjoyable for tons of people, cheers. Yeah. I would say, folks, everyone has to come up with their own conclusion, what they want to enjoy and watch. But I think for the most part, everyone just wants to be entertained. So, um, I guess corporate media, all the institutions that control our IP, or intellectual properties that we like, respect the fans, and you'll keep on earning all that wonderful money. And just keep us entertained. Keep us entertained. That's your job to keep us entertained. Don't
Yeah, it's not
lecture us.
ours.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
There you
So,
go.
okay. If you like, just you can share what movie do you plan to go watch if you want to give your money for something at the cinema right now or in the near future.
Uh, you know what? I haven't been following anything in the theaters because only one movie in general caught my attention, and that is Whale. Where Brendan
Ah,
Fraser got an Academy Award in it. So I mean, it's too late to see it in theaters now. I don't think it's in theaters right now, but I'll probably watch it on Netflix. I mean, I have my own entertainment system here at my house. If I want to watch Netflix or HBO Max or anything on that. Um, so if I want to go to the movie theater, it's kind of a big event because it's like it's pretty expensive here in America to buy a movie ticket, popcorn, soda, and watch a movie. So
yeah. How much
there's
is it
nothing.
exactly?
What Well, before I joined the Marine Corps, it was like if you I would pay $20, and I'm pretty sure with inflation now, I'm going to say it has to be maybe 35, maybe 45 now. 45 US dollars for one person because you got to factor in parking or getting there. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's kind of I have a feeling that theaters are going to be shutting down here in this country because it's just you got to keep people glued to their seats. And if we have this, or like you have your computer in front of you, I have my computer in front of me, I have my living room set up in there, and I'm like, okay, why would I want to leave the comfort of my house when I could eat my own food? I could pause the movie whenever I want. I mean,
Yeah,
going to theaters is kind of a big event, and it costs money. So the movie has to really spark my interest, and so I have no answer. Long story short, I have no answer for you.
I see. Well, uh, well here it's also expensive, but it's not that expensive. So to see a movie in Bulgaria, you'll probably give between 15 and 7 leva, which is like, well, 7 should be around $4, and 15
Mm.
should be around $7. So
Hmm.
you will give only that to see a movie, probably on 3D too if you want. You will not pay
Hmm.
for parking because all the parkings are free for 4 hours in each mall. so so there's that. You'll probably not sit for 4 hours in the movie theater, unless when you're watching Avatar, of course. But then you'll only pay like $1 for the extra hour that you were there. So it's not like such a big of a deal. And then if you eat something, maybe you will give like $5 tops. So let's say 7 plus 5, 12, plus
Hmm.
the parking. If you even pay it, you will probably will not pay it. So let's say it's like $12 for the whole thing, and you'll watch the movie in one of the best theaters in the world because we have the top technology as well. So how does that sound?
It sounds a lot better than one of my favorite theaters I used to go to. There's one in Chicago, and I went to it recently, and it felt it didn't have the same love that I remember as a kid or in my early 20s, and I went there in a very long time, and it just felt run down. It felt like it was just not how it used to be. And oh boy, I don't want people to be depressed. It just wasn't the same. And I just felt I could get the same entertainment in my house and not. I don't know. I felt a little skeevy. It felt like it wasn't maintained properly. Now I know. We used to have a thing here in America called drive-in movie theaters, and there was a point when they were getting their decline too, to where they were like cesspools, and I feel that's happening to the modern American theater too. It's not being maintained. The magic of the movie theater is disappearing, and
Yeah,
that's a decline. It's something that that I used to like,
I've heard
and
that.
material.
Yeah, I've heard that. And also that people speak a lot during movies, which almost never happens here. You probably never
Yeah,
hear
that
anyone
happens.
in the theater do anything,
No,
just watch the movie. It's so good. I only had maybe two bad experiences in the movie theater for about 10 seconds in my whole life. That's the worst. Uh, one was when I watched The Matrix Reloaded, and one guy was laughing when Trinity died.
oh,
That's it. And one was when Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man 1, he hit the wall, and
mhm.
my friend that was a girl at the time, she laughed so loud that disturbed absolutely everyone in the theater. So that's it. You can't even have a very bad experience here. So yeah.
Huh. There's only one movie that I wish I could go back in time and see it in theaters, and that was and I wish but obviously I'd be spending more money than it's worth. I'm a Godzilla fan, and I would have liked to have seen Shin Godzilla when it got released in Japan. I would have liked to have seen that movie. So that's something I would have loved to have seen in the theaters because it stands as one of my favorite of the kaiju series of
Mhm.
Godzilla. So there you go. That's it's. I thought it was a well executed film. Some people don't like it for some reason, but I do. I like it. I thought it was great.
Well, we like what we like, It's important that
Mm-hmm.
it gives value to us. So, and
Mm-hmm.
Matty says that Avatar is 13.50 for the 5 p.m. showing, free parking, but candy and popcorn prices are insane. Yeah, basically, I think that's because, I mean, the lower price of the movie, obviously, the movie was out for months now. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes out, it's probably not going to be that cheap. Oh, next Dune. I forgot about Dune. Yeah, that's something to look out for.
Oh
I
yeah,
watched Top Gun in
the
theaters. Yeah.
are they gonna make a sequel to that film? Because it's been some time since the original film, or at least what we have seen come out. I think it came out like what 2021 or something like that of that nature. Are they
Um.
gonna make?
No, I'm pretty sure it was last year. Last year on the end of 2021. I'm a bit fuzzy about that, but I remember watching it like a year ago. So yeah, we have to check. It was either like the beginning of 2022 or no, at the end of 2021. I think that was. But yeah, they already filmed it, I think. So it's supposed to come
Hmm.
out this or next year, something like that. So yeah, we're going to see
Okay.
it. 2021 says
All right.
Matty.
Okay. Well, I do hope that it's just as okay. They say November of 2023 for the second part.
Yes,
Okay.
and
I can wait.
22nd of October, that's very correct. Yeah, that's what I remember at this time, 2021. Yeah, thanks, dear
Okay.
Clayton. Okay,
Well
guys,
then I
so
can.
so Kate, now I have to really go. But
Okay.
I think that we can develop like amazing topics from everything from Marvel, DC, today's times. I mean, we can talk about everything. I think not only 40k. We are pretty well versed
Okay.
in everything.
Well, that sounds absolutely wonderful. You're also invited to, I guess, give commentary or reacts or anything else. I could talk to my team about that. and we can go forward from there. But as always, thank you so much for having me on your channel, and keep on doing the great work. I want to thank your audience for being outstanding. So keep on being safe out there, all of you, and be sure to hit that like button to boost up the algorithm. So there you go, because that's the correct thing to do. If you're not hitting that like button, come on, hit the
Yeah.
like
What
button, hit
are
that
they
ring bell
doing?
notification.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Keith. Once again, check Chicago React's channel. Link is the first thing in the description. And hopefully we can have more awesome times whenever we can. So yeah,
All right.
thank you and have an awesome Friday, guys. Till next time.